Hello, warm welcome to another episode of MC Commute, two-wheeled brothers and sisters. Today's episode is brought to you by Aerostitch. Aerostitch has been making commuter suits for about 30 years, and they support MC Commute. So if you're in the market for apparel or accessories to make your ride more enjoyable, check out aerostitch.com. On today's show, no gasoline required, just electricity. It's Zero's SR. Pretty slick looking little naked bike. So yeah, I'm gonna ride to the office, talk about how far it'll go, how much it'll cost you, so on and so forth. Very nifty. Let's get going, shall we? All right. Okie dokie. No sexy startup noise for the Zero SR. Just kickstand up, and then you get this little red flashy light here, and then you go over to this and you switch it to go, and then you get this little green circular fella, and then you're ready to go. I got a full charge. I got people texting me. Come on, guys, leave me alone. Nope. Die in the fire of 1,000 suns. How do I know if you're working? I can't know. Oh my god. Please do connect. Okie doke. And then we're off and rolling. Magic carpet. Okay. We can start going through some stats now, I guess. You also notice I got my phone hooked up here. There's a Zero app. And if you got a little RAM mount on your handlebar, as this test bike so conveniently did, you can watch live data as you ride, which is kind of cool. Sort of distracting, but you know, not if you're responsible about it. So yeah, I have mine. You can set up the little menus here, so I'm watching distance to empty, time to empty, as well as engine temp, motor temp I should say, of the electric motor, because I'm kind of interested to see how hot it gets when you spool it up on the freeway and such. Anywho, we put it on our scales. 433 pounds, so that's like a little bit heavier than an FZ09, something like in that ballpark there, which means pretty light, and it feels it when you ride it. Yeah, it carries its weight a little bit differently. I'm not sure how to, I don't know how to articulate it exactly. It feels a little different. It feels, especially at a stoplight or just at a stop in general, it feels like it carries its weight almost like a little higher. I don't know, probably just because the battery pack is a more uniform chunk of weight in there. Power wise, they claim 70 horsepower, which is sort of like you know, I don't know, 650 twin sort of power range. They claim 116 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty meaty. I think we can agree. That's like Goldwing torque. That's pretty serious. But the thing about the way the the motor, pretty sure it's technically a motor, correct me if I'm wrong, is programmed, it doesn't give you all of the torque right away. Because, I don't know, people would probably mousetrap themselves and just flip over. It's tuned to be reasonable. 116 foot-pounds of torque seems like more, I don't know, that number seems high after riding it, but it is pretty zippy. We'll experiment with the acceleration when we're not at a red light. Hey-o, green light time. Riding position is pretty neutral. They did a good job with it. Interestingly, the tank is pretty low. I don't know if you can kind of tell. You sit, I don't know, I feel like on a Super Duke, for example, the tank comes up pretty high. You sort of feel like you're sitting down in the bike. On the Zero SR, you feel like you're sitting up on top of it. But there's plenty of leg room. It's pretty comfy. The seat's a little thin for my taste, but as we'll discuss a little bit later in the program, it's not like you're going to be spending 500 miles at a time on this thing, or even 200 miles at a time. It interests me because I feel like the design of the bike is sort of hemmed in by what motorcycles have always been, right? Like, they want it to be familiar as a motorcycle, but the truth is they're not
fenced in by typical motorcycle sort of design ethos, like having the fuel tank in a certain place, or having to have certain pieces of the bike avoid where the engine is, because there isn't an engine, it's just a battery pack down there, so they could kind of move things around. Then again, they don't want to make it too funky, because then if people don't recognize it as a motorcycle, then it'll be weird. Anyway, I think they did a good job with the riding position. Got a little forward cant to the handlebar, so it feels kind of sporty. And like I said, lots of legroom, which a guy like me likes. Yep, real handsome looking vet. Yeah, word, like it. Zzz, little magic carpet, shooting away. It's pretty cool. You can hear. It's not completely silent. The Zero. It's got a little electrical whir when it spins up, which is kind of fun. But yeah, it still feels like a magic carpet. It's very strange. No clutch, no shifting, no transmission. You just twist and go. Ooh, I just did a little wheelie actually. How about that? Sort of surprising. It doesn't typically do wheelies, this bike, because like I said, they tuned it so that those big fat torque numbers don't slap you in the face when you spool it up. Here we go, wide open on the Zero. Wide open. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I mean, it's pretty zippy. It's pretty fast. My phone's all locked up or something. If your cell phone isn't 3 years old like mine is, then the Zero app works great, but my phone's freaking out, so I'm gonna shut it off. Anyway, the point is you can do that. It's a thing you can do. Red light. We can talk about brakes. It's got one big honkin' caliper and one fairly honkin' disc. The other side of the wheel has nothing. Roughly the weight of an FZ09. And when you think about bikes in that category, in the 400 and something pound category, that's super aggressive. What do? You're in the middle of the freaking intersection, guy. Just gonna sit in the middle of the intersection, really? Congratulations to Senor Soul there for just sitting in the middle of the intersection waiting for the light to go green. Bikes in the 400 and something pound range, right? 425, 440 pounds, whatever. They have two discs up front, pretty typically. Not always, but in any kind of performance machine, that's what you'll see. And I feel like the SR could stand to have an extra rotor up there with an extra caliper. It is extra money, so I can kind of see why they didn't do it, I guess. But I think you'd have a lot more power on tap for sure with an extra rotor, obviously. Now we see if the e-bike trips the traffic signal. This is an important aspect of a motorcycle. Yeah, it worked. Probably that huge battery. That's something. That's something. Oh, road construction. Sorry, guys. Now we cruising in the carpool lane. I feel good about being in the carpool lane today because, I mean, I'm on a motorcycle. I'm single track mobility. Not to mention it's electric. I'm saving the planet left and right around here. They should have a separate lane just for me. But they don't, so that's fair. As far as ergonomics on the freeway, same naked bike thing that we've always talked about. You know, you get hit with wind blast and that's life. But again, Zero's pretty comfortable, no complaints there. One thing I did do is you can, on the dash, there's a little place where you can toggle through different metrics that you want to see, whether it's trip meter or so on and so forth. There's one that shows, it's sort of the equivalent to instant fuel economy on an internal combustion bike. It shows how much energy the electric system is using to push you down the road. And I experimented with going a steady speed, 72 I think it was, and then sort of watching the gauge and then tucking in like a Johnny Road Racer idiot to see how much it reduced the amount of energy that was used while I was tucked in. And it was really significant. It was something like 30% less energy when I was all the way tucked in. So I only tell that anecdote because I feel like it's interesting to think about how much energy is used to push you through the wind, you know, and it's especially hard on an electric system like this because you don't get any of the benefits in the city of having the throttle closed and having regenerative forces going back into the battery. So yeah, it's a tough life for an e-bike on the freeway, but the SR handles it just fine. It just saps the battery a bit. I don't know if you can see the speedo, but I'll try and give you an idea of what we're looking at for roll-on power here on the freeway. So we're going like 60 or 65 right now, and if I want to pass this car and wind it open, 75, 80, 85, I mean, it's pretty good. It's got pretty good stomp. That truck is not running optimally. It looks like it's burning quite a bit of oil. Yikes. Maybe it's a two-stroke. Probably not though. Probably just burning a lot of oil. I'm gonna start talking about price now for the Zero SR. So the base price for the SR, which we should remember is the up spec. This is the performance model. This is the yeah, this is the sort of flagship of the Zero line. So it is the most expensive bike that they have. They have bikes that start 10 grand, I think, or maybe even a little bit less. The base price for the SR is $15,995, so call it 16 grand, which is a lot of money. No two ways about it. There are also a few options. You can get a power tank, which adds like 15% more battery. I think something like that. It goes from 13 kilowatt hours to 16.3 or something, if memory serves. Anyway, whatever. You can also get what this one has, the charge tank, they call it. So that's like a fast charge system instead of just plugging it into a wall like the other bikes have. And interestingly, you can't have the extra battery and the fast charger. You have to pick one or the other. And it'll be $2,000 or $3,000 for either one of those options, depending on the one you choose. So this bike is basically $18,000 bike that I'm riding here, which is a lot. And you can't compare it to other $18,000 bikes as far as performance or features or stuff like that. It's just not fair because, yeah, electric bikes they're not there yet. But I think that's why the price of this bike is interesting, because yes, it is high, but let's remember that it wasn't that long ago that electric motorcycles, electric vehicles were just a fantasy. They weren't real. You couldn't buy them. I mean, they made electric vehicles for movies, or, you know, NASA would make one or something, but you couldn't go to a dealership and buy one and just plug it into your wall and use it all the time. It's a fairly recent development. And the fact that you can go buy a Zero and it comes with a warranty and, I don't know, other people that own them, I mean, it's pretty cool, I think. And, you know, you pay a premium for the novelty. There's no two ways about it. You have to really have some satisfaction in electric, I don't know, electrical engineering, I guess. Or, you know, saving the planet one tank of fuel at a time, if that's your thing. Because it's realistically, you know, a Yamaha FZ07 or Ninja 650 speed motorcycle-ish for performance, at the price of, you know, a really top-end European motorcycle, a Super Duke or a Monster R or something like that. So, you know, yeah. But I do think it's interesting that this is a very futuristic, kind of crazy thing, and you can just go buy one. I think there's something to be said for that. Also, just a fun fact, it does wicked burnouts because there's no transmission, so it spools up really fast. Okay, enough of that for now. There it is, through the smoke. Zero SR. Boom whammy. Pretty nifty bike, I think. Like I said, it's a bit pricey, but hey, the future wasn't going to be free, right? And a darn good commuter, really. You take this little cord out. I take this little cord out every night. I plug it into the wall in a little socket that's on the other side. And when I get up in the morning, it's all charged up. Takes a handful of hours to do. It's faster with the charge tank, which we have a fast charger here at work. But I mean, frankly, if I was going to get one of these, I would just plug it into the wall every night. Provided you don't have to go more than, I don't know, 70, 80 miles is what I found for range. Yeah, as long as you don't have to, your commute isn't more than 35 or 40 miles one way, then you can kind of get away with it. It's pretty cool. Here, I'll rev it up for you. Oh, just kidding. Can't rev it up, right? So if you really like engine noise too, you're a little bit out of luck, I suppose. Anyway, there you have it. I'm done. I'll let you guys go. Hope you enjoyed that, and hope you have a wheelie full day.